Have you ever felt like you were born to do something so big and bright it almost scares you? For me, that dream was dance. Not just any dance, but the kind that tells a story, the kind that makes your heart beat in time with the music. Growing up in a small town, my world was my front porch. The rhythm of the rain on the tin roof and the beat of my own 2 feet on the worn wooden planks. They told me a girl like me from a place like this shouldn't dream so big. They said ballet was for a different kind of girl in a different kind of world. But in my heart, I knew they were wrong. Every leap, every spin was a word in a story only I could write. This is the story of how I learned to turn their whispers of doubt into the roaring applause of my own unstoppable spirit. My name is Amara, and my first stage was the cracked pavement of my neighborhood cul-de-sac. My audience was the setting sun and the flickering streetlights. My costume was a hand-me-down t-shirt and a pair of worn-out sneakers. While other kids were playing games, I was choreographing symphonies in my head. I'd watch grainy videos of famous ballets on our old family computer, mesmerized by the grace and power of the dancers. I'd try to mimic their moves, their plies, their pirouettes, often tumbling onto the grass, but always getting back up. My grandma, my Nana Rose, she was my biggest fan. She'd sit on the porch swing, clapping her hands, her eyes sparkling. "You got the fire in your feet, baby girl," she'd say. "Don't ever let nobody put it out." The first real test came when a flyer appeared on the community center bulletin board. Auditions for the city's youth ballet summer intensive. It was a world away, a place of polished floors, mirrored walls, and dancers who had been in classes since they could walk. My heart hammered against my ribs. Fear was a cold knot in my stomach. I had no formal training, no leotard, no fancy ballet slippers. All I had was a dream and the fire Nana Rose saw in my feet. I remember tearing the flyer off the board, my hand shaking. This was it. This was my chance to see if my dream was real or just a fantasy ID cooked up on my front porch. The day of the audition felt like stepping into another dimension. The studio was filled with girls in pristine pink tights and slicked back buns. They moved with an effortless confidence that made me feel small and out of place in my leggings and t-shirt. I could feel their eyes on me, sizing me up, whispering. For a moment, I wanted to run. I wanted to go back to the safety of my cul-de-sac, where no one judged my form or the brand of my shoes. But then I remembered Nana Rose's words. Don't ever let nobody put it out. I took a deep breath, found a spot at the back of the room, and closed my eyes. I wasn't in a fancy studio anymore. I was back on my porch, with the sun on my face and a story in my heart. When the music started, something took over. I wasn't just doing steps. I was telling my story. The story of a girl from a small town with a big dream. My movements spoke of struggle, of hope, of the joy of just being able to move. I wasn't as technically perfect as the other girls. I knew that. My lines weren't as clean, my turnout wasn't as precise, but I danced with everything I had. I poured my soul onto that floor. When the music stopped, the room was silent. I stood there, panting, my chest heaving, my heart exposed for everyone to see. The stern-faced instructor, a woman who hadn't cracked a smile all morning, walked slowly towards me. I braced myself for rejection. "What's your name?" she asked, her voice softer than I expected. "Amara," I whispered. She nodded slowly. "Amara," she repeated, "you have a lot to learn, but you have something I can't teach. You have heart." I actually got into the summer intensive. It was the hardest, most wonderful summer of my life. Every muscle in my body ached. I got blisters on my feet I didn't even know were possible. I was years behind the other dancers, and I had to work twice as hard just to keep up. There were days I cried in the locker room, frustrated and exhausted, feeling like I'd never be good enough. But every time I felt like quitting, I'd think of Nana Rose. I'd think of that feeling on audition day, the feeling of my soul taking flight, and I'd push through. I absorbed every correction. I practiced until the studio lights were turned off, and I watched the principal dancers with an insatiable hunger to learn. Slowly, I started to see a change. My body grew stronger, my movements more fluid. I wasn't just the girl with heart anymore. I was becoming a dancer. That summer intensive was just the beginning of a long, winding road. The path wasn't a straight line to success. It was filled with detours, roadblocks, and moments of crushing self-doubt. There were competitions I didn't place in, roles I didn't get, and instructors who told me my body wasn't right for classical ballet. Each no was a painful blow. It's easy to tell someone to believe in themselves, but it's a lot harder to do it when the world is constantly telling you that you don't belong. There were times I looked in the mirror and saw only my flaws, only the ways I didn't fit the mold. The temptation to give up to shrink back into the familiar comfort of my old life was immense. But giving up meant letting them be right. It meant extinguishing the fire that Nana Rose had so carefully protected, and I couldn't do that. I owed it to her, and more importantly, I owed it to that little girl dancing on the cracked pavement. So, with every rejection, I found a new resolve. I used their doubt as fuel. If they said my body wasn't right, I'd train harder to make it stronger and more expressive than anyone else's. If they said my style was too raw, I'd refine it without losing the passion that made it unique. I learned that my journey wasn't about fitting into their world. It was about creating my own. Years passed, years of sweat, tears, and relentless practice. I finished high school, juggling academics and a demanding dance schedule. I auditioned for professional companies across the country, collecting a stack of rejection letters that could have wallpapered my room. But among those rejections, there were glimmers of hope. A call back here, a positive comment there. And then, one day, an email arrived, an offer, not for a lead role, not for a famous company in a big city, but a spot in the Corps des Ballets of a respected regional company. It wasn't the final destination, but it was a real professional contract. It was a beginning. I remember calling Nana Rose, my voice choked with emotion. I could hear her crying on the other end of the line. "I told you, baby girl," she said through her tears. "I told you that fire would light up the world, and now here I am, standing in the wings of a real theatre, the scent of rosin and dusty velvet in the air. The orchestra is tuning up, a beautiful chaos of sound that makes my heart soar. In a few moments, I'll step out onto that stage, under the bright lights, and I'll dance. I'm not the star of the show, not yet, but I'm here. That little girl with the worn-out sneakers and the fiery feet is here. My journey is far from over. The dream is still big, still bright, still a little bit scary. But I've learned that the most important part of chasing a dream isn't just reaching the finish line. It's about the person you become along the way. It's about learning to be your own biggest cheerleader, to find strength in your struggles, and to never ever let anyone put out your fire. My story is a testament to the fact that it doesn't matter where you come from or what obstacles you face. If you have a dream in your heart and the courage to chase it, you are truly unstoppable. So, what's your dream? What's that fire inside you that the world is trying to put out? I want you to know that your story matters, your dream is valid, and your spirit is unstoppable. If my story resonated with you, if it sparked a little bit of that fire in your own heart, I'd be so honored if you hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. I'll be sharing more of my journey, the highs, the lows, and everything in between. Let's build a community of dreamers who support and inspire each other. Thank you so much for watching. Now go out there and show the world your fire.